Hey, family, welcome to episode 27 of my enrolled agent career. In tonight's episode, we are going to talk about service offerings, specifically service offerings for those of you who have decided to pursue the enrolled agent designation because the difference there now, this could still apply if you're a CPA, right? Or if you're a tax attorney. But the difference here is the representation services that you are able to offer to taxpayers. Now, before I get too deep into it, just in case you're new here, my name is Timalyn Bowens, and not only am I the host of this podcast, I am also America's favorite EA. And the things that I share with you in this podcast are going to be things that I've learned from experience because I'm also the owner of Bowen's Tax Solutions, which is a virtual firm based in Louisville, Kentucky. And this, I'll be celebrating 10 years of entrepreneurship in running this firm. So, with that being said, the things that you learn on this episode when I'm going solo are things that I've learned that I want to share with you to help you make it to 10 years, to help you to level up if you're already past 10 years, to help you get that clarity that you need so that you feel empowered to keep going. All right. So, since our hiatus, we had episode 25 where I talked about goal setting. And with that, I talked about having faith in yourself, discipline, and action, because those are the three things that you need to achieve your goal, right? Last week, excuse me, we talked about time management. And when you have a goal, it's important to allocate, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's important to properly allocate your time to ensure that you have equipped yourself realistically to reach that goal, that you've equipped yourself to do all the different parts that are needed to reach the goal. So, for example, if you're studying for the EA exam, you need to make sure that you have the right amount of time set aside for you to actually study. You need to make sure that you yet have time to work in your business if you're doing those things together, and then still have the time to find the some sort of balance with working, studying, and then with the other things that you have going on in your life, whether that's family, activities, church, etc. So, tonight, when I talk about the service offerings, this isn't going to be like your traditional, oh, yeah, you can offer payroll and bookkeeping, tax preparation. We're going to talk about those things. But if you were in the beginning phase of starting your business and figuring out who you serve and how you're going to serve them, having that attached to your service offerings will help you overcome a lot of hurdles initially starting out because you'll already have the clarity to know how you can help people without people telling you what you're going to do in your business. And I hope that makes sense. So, what I always like to start with, and I can see this now looking back in my own firm, is your purpose. What were you created to do, and how is that going to be used to impact the world? Now, I know for myself that I am a teacher. That is something that comes naturally to me. Would I have ever thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to help people with their taxes because teaching is what I am purposed to do? Serving is what I'm purposed to do, to help others. No, but knowing that in my heart of hearts, what I'm created to do is to teach and then also to serve others. When looking at the enrolled designation, if you go all the way back to episode 1 of this podcast, I shared with you all my upbringing and wanting to serve And I wanted to go into business to help small business owners understand their numbers so they wouldn't be put out of business. I thought I was going to go the traditional accounting path, but as life went on, yes, I evolved, but I had more clarity in what that would look like. But I still always understood that my purpose would be to help a certain demographic of people. So then that evolved when I took a chance. I did the full time tax internship in a firm that wouldn't allow me to do tax and assurance work. I fell in love with tax. I fell in love with the way that it was a puzzle. And then I had a mentor tell me that I wasn't going to like the position, the industry, I should say, because we just help rich people stay rich, right? Within the tax planning sphere of things. And if you've listened to the episode already, I apologize because I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I was like, hey, buddy, I still got student loans to pay. I'm doing well here. I'm going to love it. But he was right because he could see within me that at the heart of what I was doing, I still enjoyed teaching people and being able to serve them. And that for me is exactly what I'm able to do as an enrolled agent. I yet help small business owners to understand their numbers, not be put out of business, but not from the planning side or being proactive and making projections, but I help save them out of the pit when they're in trouble with the IRS. So it's the same purpose, it's the same vision, but I took the enrolled agent designation to be the vehicle for how I do that. Now, for me, you all know that I believe all enrolled agents should do representation work in some shape, form, or fashion. For you, loving tax isn't enough to get the enrolled agent designation, in my humble opinion. Okay. If you love taxes from what you know from doing tax returns, that's nice. I still love taxes and tax law, but representing clients is completely different from tax preparation. And that I feel is what a lot of you all get kind of held up by because even the exam is testing you on tax law that you would need to know for tax preparation, but representation in and of itself is a completely different vehicle. Now, understanding tax law as far as preparation, it helps fill in holes so you have a better understanding and can advocate better for the taxpayer, but it's not the same thing. So, going back, using myself as an example, wanting to teach, wanting to educate people, right? If you go back with me to as far as you've known about me, even if you just found me on the internet, within my virtual firm, if you've ever listened to the Tax Relief with Timalyn Bowens podcast, you know the theme of that is filling the financial literacy gap one taxpayer at a time. Because I'm an enrolled agent and because I can represent taxpayers, I know what they need to do to not end up in tax trouble, as well as what they need to do if they should find themselves in tax trouble. I've taken the gifting that God's given me, the knowledge base that I have from experience, plus what I've learned by reading and learning tax code and the Internal Revenue Manual, and I'm able to take that and yet teach taxpayers to help them avoid having tax issues. I had an paid consultation 2 weeks ago, and this lady had been listening to the podcast, binging it. Not this one, it's actually for Timalyn Bowens. And she said, I just want to let you know, I appreciate the work that you do. And it comes through that you actually care and you want people to be helped and to be educated about their tax issue to get out of trouble. For me, yes, I love representing people and calling the IRS on their behalf, even though the IRS is the easiest to work with right now just because of technology, lack of technology. But for me, that made my week because my purpose is to teach. My purpose is to serve. So, with that, I've created what has turned into a stream of marketing that yet fulfills my purpose tank and allows me to serve better. Now, for you, yes, it's okay if you love taxes. Yes, it's okay if you love bookkeeping, but there is a purpose that you have. There's a drive and a vision and a passion that you have that's drawn you to the enrolled agent designation. What ways can you serve taxpayers that's going to fulfill that vision, that's going to fulfill that purpose that you can do and it be a service offering for taxpayers? Now, like I said, it turned out to be a great marketing tool. That's not what I was looking at initially. But with the podcast, that is a service that I provide people where I'm not getting paid up front. But I can tell you that an attorney who listens and sees my podcast gave me a referral for an injured spouse case within the past 30 days. My clients who have paid up front within the past 30 days all listen to the podcast. So that came about as me serving taxpayers and educating taxpayers. Another thing for me that I know is part of my purpose is advocating for other people and serving them. So, what better service offering for me than to represent taxpayers before the IRS? For me to call the IRS and get all the information and do my due diligence to understand the IRM, to understand the IRC, so I can go on their behalf and negotiate for them as an advocate. Now, not always, but a lot of people that I see who are good enrolled agents, they are the advocate in their family. Maybe they're an older sibling. Um, there are things that you have in your life, again, connected to your purpose and vision, stuff that's been downloaded into you, that's going to connect to the service offering that you have for taxpayers, that is going to make the work that you do enjoyable and not feel like work. That's the whole thing that I'm getting at right here. You have to connect whatever you offer your clients to your purpose. Otherwise, you will find yourself disgruntled and not happy, even if you're making good money doing rep work. Even if you've built a good system, you won't find fulfillment in that service offering. Now, looking at the more traditional things that you can do in an enrolled agent firm, I believe that again, all enrolled agents should do tax preparation. I mean, not tax preparation, tax representation. I understand that there's been a misconception that if you don't do OICs, if you don't do audits, if you don't do appeals, you're not doing representation. One moment. Forgive me. I've told you guys, this is raw and uncut, not a lot of edits. And I'm allergic to Kentucky outside. So I apologize in advance if I continue to sneeze, but we're going somewhere. This is just a distraction. When you are doing an installment agreement for a taxpayer who can't sleep at night because they can't figure out how they're going to pay the IRS in full, who can't sleep at night because they are afraid of being levied by the IRS, who can't progress in their business because they have a tax lien. When you, as an enrolled agent, take on that power of attorney with your Form 2848, the engagement letter, and let's not forget the paid invoice, you step into their shoes and you are their representative. Don't let anybody downplay that. Under Circular 230, You, as an enrolled agent, can do everything that a tax attorney can do as far as that situation. You can do everything that a certified public accountant can do in that situation. Is it as difficult as doing an appeal? Maybe not. Is it as difficult as doing an audit? Maybe not. But that installment agreement is yet representation and something that you should do and do well. Now, recently, I taught a class on installment agreements, right? And I walked through guaranteed installment agreements, tiered installment agreements, partial pay installment agreements, regular installment agreements, streamlined installment agreements. And if that's something that you're not comfortable with, then you should go purchase that class. It's available on the website at americasfavoriteea.com, and you can purchase the replay. In the beginning, you'll find where I just define installment agreement for you. Then you'll have a 2-hour video that you can watch to get more comfortable with it. And I do quote the IRM, which is the Internal Revenue Manual, what the revenue agent's looking at, as well as the IRC, so you understand the authority that the IRS gives you to set up the installment agreement on behalf of the taxpayer. But then you also have a list of resources, articles that I've written that are with behind a paywall that will give you a better understanding of what to look for when you're trying to determine what the taxpayer qualifies for, how to conduct that transcript investigation, and then how to actually set up the installment agreement. Because again, a lot of us get discouraged if, okay, they don't qualify for an OIC, they're going to end up paying this in full. That's their tax obligation to pay it in full. It's just a bonus if we get it reduced. It's just a bonus if you get the penalty abatement. It's just a bonus. All right. That's not something guaranteed. They're not even guaranteed to be able to set up a payment plan. You understanding the law and advocating and setting up that installment agreement is yet representation. You should walk in the authority of that and understand the different options that they have so that you are able to confidently do it and confidently charge for it. All right. So, again, that class replay is available. I'll link it down below in the comments. So, even if you say, you know what, I think I want to focus on tax preparation, representation is not really for me. If you have a client who owes the IRS $25,000 and they can't pay it in full, are you, as an enrolled agent, really going to watch that client sink in tax debt when you could step in and say, hey, could you pay that off within 72 months? Could you pay it off within 36 months? Hey, you typically don't file late. Would you like for me to see if I could get that 25% penalty removed or reduced? Hey, I know this isn't typically like you with something going on in life. How can I serve you? And then you get the penalty abatement, you get the installment agreement set up. That's yet a method of service that may be connected to your purpose, but that is tax representation when you do something on the taxpayer's behalf like that. Setting up an installment agreement is negotiating with the IRS because you are setting up an arrangement where they have a debt that's due in 14 days, but instead of 14 days, you've given them 72 months. You've given them breathing room. You've given them peace to be able to sleep at night because now they don't have to worry about waking up and should I look at my app in my bank account or should I not? Right? Because again, you as an enrolled agent under Circular 230 were able to take care of that. Don't let anybody downplay the power and authority that you have. All right. So even if you don't do anything crazy, an installment agreement's not crazy, that's still representation work that you can start doing now as an enrolled agent. Timalyn, I don't know what to do, where to start. Start with the installment agreement class that I'm going to have down in the notes. I've already mentioned tax preparation. If you do not have an accounting background, that's cool. But if you don't have an accounting background and you are working with business clients, you are actually doing them and yourself a disservice. I'm going to ask you to take an accounting 101 class. Take classes on partnerships, corporations, nonprofits, S corps, because you need to understand things such as the balance sheet. It should balance, right? The income statement should close to the equity account. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't have any business doing a business return. Okay, no pun intended. Make sure that you equip yourself to properly prepare and represent taxpayers. All right. Because a lot of you may also be interested in tax planning. If you don't understand how investments and business and things work, you shouldn't be offering that as a service until you're equipped, because then again, not only are you doing a disservice to the taxpayer, you're doing a disservice to the profession, because there are a lot of people out there selling tax planning, tax resolution services that have no business doing anything for a taxpayer. All right. So for tax preparation, make sure that if you're doing business returns, you have some type of accounting 101 so that you understand the balance sheet, that you understand equity, that you understand capital basis, that you understand distributions. Should they be taxable or not? That's going to be based on the basis that the shareholder or the partners have in the company. But if you don't have the accounting 101 background, you're not going to understand that. So again, I'm not expecting you to know everything just because you're an enrolled agent. You have the license. You do have to go out and practice. You do have to go out and get the information and the knowledge. Don't expect to know everything, but at the same time, in the same breath, don't take on everything at one time when you're still learning. Give you an example, because I know some of you are going to say, well, Timalyn, I can't take this rep case because I don't know what I'm doing. You take on the one thing at one time. You get in the community so that you can get help. You get mentorship, whether that is paid or from the community that happened organically. You still take that on, just like with tax preparation. When you get a return that you can't handle, you don't take that on, try to do the planning and the rep work all at one time, right? That's what I'm saying. Let me break these down. So we have tax prep. That's one service offering. Maybe your passion and purpose is connected to keeping taxpayers in compliance, right? We have representation, which again, I'm going to say everybody should be doing in some shape, form, or fashion. If you're not sure where to start, if you're not sure what to do, the paid community that I have is open. The free community that I have is open. But I'll tell you this, the people in the free community actually really haven't been participating that much, even when I've pumped and primed them to share goals, ask for help. So, with that, I can see how many people are in there that have me right at their fingertips that won't even reach out and ask for help in a free community. So I know that some of you all who are watching this, who may be listening to this, are in the same situation. You are surrounded by people that may be able to help you, maybe not specifically to be an enrolled agent, but that can help you in different facets of the business, but you're too afraid to ask. You're too afraid to actually be honest with yourself and sit down and say, okay, what is my purpose? What is my vision for how I'm going to carry this purpose out so that I can help taxpayers? I tell you all often in marketing, and that's what we're talking about next Sunday on Father's Day, that When you're marketing, you're not marketing tax representation. You're not marketing, oh, stay in compliance. If you do, you'll get some people who maybe did their research, you understand the importance of compliance, being proactive in planning. What you are marketing is saving a marriage that's about to fall apart because they owe the IRS. You are marketing peace to be able to sleep at night. You are marketing being able to pay for their daughter's wedding. You are marketing a result, an end result that's connected to the tax debt that the tax debt is in the way of. So think about your purpose and the service offering that way. If my purpose is to serve, okay, that could be bookkeeping, that could be tax preparation, that could be tax account monitoring, that could be audit support. But you have to dig in deeper and understand what your vision for your life and carrying out that purpose is. Again, if I go back and I look at educating, I look at serving, the podcast makes sense. This makes sense from that standpoint because I'm giving you something that I never had as I was growing as an enrolled agent. This podcast isn't for any monetary gain. It's literally to help you, the listener, to be better than me when I was in that same position. So, some of you who don't have an accounting background, maybe I'm helping fill the financial literacy gap there, but by equipping more tax professionals to walk in their authority under Circular 230 and to be able to help taxpayers, I am yet filling the financial literacy gap because there are going to be more empowered and educated enrolled agents to help people with their tax problems because I can't help everybody, right? If we're looking at the 1 in 50 taxpayers who have a tax issue, that's enough for me, you, all of us to eat and to help people. The work is out there, it's waiting for you, but you have to be clear on what you are offering people and how you will help. You can't say, oh man, Timalyn, I don't know what to do. They don't qualify for an offering compromise. All we can do is just get it into a payment plan. The reality is 90% of taxpayers are going to qualify for an installment agreement. There's nothing wrong with that, but you have to think about what your client receives by being in an installment agreement and realize that you're not just pushing paperwork, you're actually doing something huge there. Okay? Now, tax preparation, tax representation. There is tax planning, which you are given the opportunity to see what these people's financials look like. How did we get here in trouble with the IRS before? Now let's be proactive and let's put things in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again, right? So that is a service offering that if it's connected to your purpose, not your desire to make more money, will make sense. If your only desire with wanting to do tax planning is because you think it's going to be easier, air quotes for those listening, that's not going to be the case. Tax representation isn't hard. Tax preparation isn't hard. It gets tedious and mundane and difficult when we don't actually take the time to learn what we're doing to be the best at what we're doing. If all you do is hop in different groups and communities and just ask questions, but you've never read IRM 5.14 yourself, you're not doing all that you can do. If you've never read the IRC that talks about installment agreements are currently not collectible or the offering compromise, and all you do is just ask other people the questions, get the answer for yourself, you're not doing all that you can do. If you haven't set up at least 10 installment agreements, whether that's streamline, partial pay, whatever it is, you honestly haven't even put the reps in to complain and say, oh, I need to switch to tax planning. Because tax planning, while it's more appealing to people, A lot of people don't want to pay for it, and it's going to be just as hard, if not harder, to sell than tax representation. You have to actually see something all the way through before you try to switch and go to something else. Okay? So we have our prep, we have our rep, we have our planning. If you want to be in there in the day to day stuff, you could offer bookkeeping. But again, and this isn't to down anybody, as enrolled agents, we don't have to have accounting degrees. Now, you all know that I do, but you honestly shouldn't be doing bookkeeping if you don't have the basic accounting 101 knowledge, because again, you're not going to be able to track somebody's bases. You're not going to know how to close the income statement into retained earnings and make sure the balance sheet balances, or how to do the correct journal entries for everything. Now, if you want to be able to offer that service and you collaborate and work with somebody else where you aren't, you're still responsible for the work, but you're not the one actually doing the work, then that's something different. But don't start offering what you see everybody else offering to make more money and then find yourself drowning because you didn't actually understand bookkeeping. We have some amazing people who listen to this podcast, who are in the free community, who are on the email list, that are great bookkeepers. We have a few. If this is you, just say ouch and keep going, who have no business doing any bookkeeping. You just took a QuickBooks course and you know how the software works, but you don't know the proper journal entries for certain things. You don't know the book to tax difference with depreciation. So everything's all jacked up. And what you're doing there, truthfully, is creating rep clients for me, because people whose books are jacked up tend to later have issues with the IRS, right? So no matter what you do, because sometimes we do have to offer services to make ends meet, but whatever you do, make sure that you do it to the best of your ability, that you've done your due diligence, and that you have a good understanding of what it is, how it works, and how it actually serves the client. Same thing I said with bookkeeping, payroll. Friends, if you don't understand how serious the trust fund penalty is, you have no business doing payroll, because you yourself could end up on the hook if the taxpayer doesn't pay the taxes, if you're a responsible party for getting that paid. If you don't stay on top of your client to make sure they get stuff paid on time, again, you're just creating a rep client that it would actually be a conflict of interest for you to take. So it'd be a rep client for me or somebody else in the community that you could refer to. So even in that, if you want to offer payroll, you probably need to work with a third party to outsource it, like with the bookkeeping, if you don't have an understanding of how payroll works. Does that make sense? Tax account monitoring. That is something where people are like, okay, that's recurring revenue. I can charge monthly, quarterly, annually for it, and I just have to pull the transcripts. You pull the transcripts regularly, you monitor letters as they come in, etc. You notify the client about what's going on, but how are you going to notify the client about what's going on if you don't know how to read a transcript? So again, understanding your purpose, who you want to help, how you want to help them, connects to the services that you want to offer. You don't just see like, okay, yeah, people are doing tax account monitoring now for $150 a month. Bet I can do that. And you can't read the codes on the transcript. What kind of sense does that make? You need to get some cases under your belt where you're pulling transcripts, you're reading them, you are translating them to make sure that you have an understanding. Because what are you going to end up doing if you get 10 tax accounts that want account transcript monitoring? Yes, you got $1,500 now, but you can't even read your own tax transcript. And now you got 10 people, and you might miss something important because you don't even know how to read the transcript. Again, The EA credential, it empowers you. It gives you the authority under Circular 230, but you still have to make sure you understand how to do the services that you were promising, that you were going into agreement with taxpayers that you're going to give them. All right. So, because you guys know I like a good homework assignment, down below in the comments, whether you're listening on Spotify or if you're listening on the Enrolled Agent Hub, the new YouTube home, let me know down in the comments what is your purpose that's connected to the enrolled agent license that you have or you're aspiring to get. If you don't know yet, let me know that too down in the comments. And what I'll do, I will set up 30-minute calls with the first 3 people who let me know that they don't know what their purpose is, to help you get clarity on that so you have a better understanding of the services that you can offer. Now, that's 30-minute calls, not 3 apiece. That's one for each person, and it'll be a free call. We will meet on Zoom to help kind of flesh out what your purpose is and connect it to a service offering. Because yes, I name different services that you technically can do, but you build them into bundles and create packages based on your purpose in that service. All right. So thank you so much for joining me on tonight and taking the time to listen. I know that next week is Father's Day. I'm going to be talking about marketing. So if you can get away for a little bit around 8 o'clock to listen to the episode live, that would be great. If you have to catch the replay, that's great too. But make sure that you do your homework for this week. Think about it. Like, really think about it. What is your purpose connected to the enrolled agent designation that you have or that you're trying to get? And with the 3 calls, I'm not asking you to email me. I don't want you to DM me. Put it in the comments. I want to know your purpose if you know it. And if you don't know it, let me know that you want to be one of the people that meets with me for 30 minutes to flesh that out. All right. You all enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and I will see you next week.